Luke, use the Force. I love PVC pipes. There's something just so satisfying about that space sound. Anyway, today we're going to tell you how to use PVC pipes to create your own creepy candelabra that runs on LED bulbs, that you don't have to redo their batteries every time they run out, and is really inexpensive. Step one, get yourself PVC pipe. This right here is, I believe, it's 1 1/4, but you can do it from the teeniest ones to the largest ones. The big thing I'd recommend before you start is sanding all this print off of it, because no matter how many coats you do of paint, it'll keep trying to go through. So I know it's an extra step, but get out your hand sander and get to sanding. There we go, not bad. Ooh, sawdust. Wear eye protection, kids. So basically the side that had the red writing on it in UPC, we just give it a little sand down right there. It's a little rough, but remember, everything's going to be painted with white paint. This way, though, at least you're not fighting that big red stamp and that UPC symbol when you're trying to make it look like a candle. The next thing is to cut it into candle pieces. I like to set my saw at about a 15-degree angle. That way it's got a little lip, it looks like the candle burned down in perfectly, and it also sort of gives you a little backing for that little flame to be seen against. So get to your miter saw and cut as many as you wish. This part I am not joking about. Wear your eye protection, because this is a bunch of tiny little plastic things that are just eye-seeking bullets. So keep your eye protection on. Got my miter set at 15, and I'm just gonna start cutting some at different lengths. Now, if you are using a miter saw like this, you can always use just your plain old regular hacksaw to be gentler with it. But if you're cutting a bunch, you might want to invest in one of these fine-tooth blades there. That's not just going to completely obliterate the PVC as you cut it. And here we go. It may have a little imperfection like that. That's what you take your sander, just get that little bit off of. And the great thing is you already have an angle for the next one. So you cut angle straight, and that'll give you a bunch of candles to be part of your spooky candelabra. So we have our PVC pipe cut at different sizes. Don't forget about the baby candles. Those always look so great. Hey, candles burn down, and you need that variance of size. So the problem is now, what are we going to install our LEDs in? These have giant openings in the top. Now, there is an online tutorial that's great that says, hey, if you can find a cap that will fit snugly inside of here, you can just drill a little hole in the cap, place that right in, glue it in place with hot glue, and you're done. However, I was not able to find one for this particular caliber of pipe, as well as the fact that I'm notoriously cheap. So I want to do it myself. And for that, I'm taking what I had lying around, which is this hole cutting bit here that is just slightly bigger than the caliber of the pipe itself. I'm going to make some little thin circles out of Luan like this, so it'll be easy to sand down, and sand it until it fits in the pipe itself. Let's go. All right, here they all are, my 4 little rinky-dinky rings. The great thing is, because the drill bit itself has that center hole, that's, whoops, exactly where the LED is going to go through. Now I got to give them a little sand to make them fit inside the pipes themselves. Back to the hand sander. To make it a little easier, I will hold it with this little grabber right there, and then get to sanding. Eye protection. Eye protection. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if it's enough. All right. Yes! So we're essentially going to stick it right there at the end of it, as level as possible. And when we go in and use the glue gun, that will seal that little topper in place. I'm going to do it to the other 4 now. Meet you inside. Okay, I have my candles here. I have my glue gun set to high because apparently I have a death wish and I like burning myself. See? But we're going to try and do this as safely as possible. So we've got our candles, we've got our little inset piece of wood right there with the hole in it. We're going to start by just putting a little bead of glue around the outside to hold it in place. And don't worry about not being messy with this. This can be as junky and as messy as you want it to, because after this, we're going to add drips running all down the side of the candle itself. If it's a little too loose, like this one is just a little loose, that is a-okay. Just be a little careful doing that first bead around. Maybe you just do, oops, see, this one's trying to get crazy. Get back in place, get back in place. Careful with the hot glue. Okay, so I just was able to do 2 dots in that one. I'm gonna let that set up, and then I'll come back and finish the rest of it, you know? That's okay, it's okay, hey. Then you can go back and do the fun part, which is make drips. Now, what you wanna do is start by making a big glob at the bottom, and then just work your way up to the top. Big glob, work your way up to the top. See? Pretty globular, right? Sometimes I'll also just go and do a little bead at the top of extra and just let that drizzle down the side and see what it does. If you do not have a lot of glue already, you may want to look into buying some. Amazon has a pack of glue sticks this big. Glue sticks for I think it was something like $15, something very reasonable. I'll put the link up. Maybe it was 19, but look, I can do candles for years to come. I'm going to continue with the rest of the candles. Do not put in your LED lights yet. We are first going to paint before we get to that step. Okay, so we have our candles. We gave them a nice little paint job. Everything looks nice and drippy and candly, but how are we going to make them glow? Well, for around $10 online, you can get 30 of these pre-wired LEDs that are orange and flicker. So when you attach the electricity to them, they will sort of flicker on and off. I had one ready. They also come pre-wired with a transistor. You can get the LEDs and do it yourself. It's just a lot of work to wire the transistor to each one, the wires. When it's already done like this, it makes it a lot easier. So you're going to take your candle base, you're going to thread the wires through, and before you get all the way seated, a little bead of hot glue right there, and then gently push that LED down into place. You can play with the wires at the bottom to pull or keep it taut or whatever you want to do. So, ta-da, see how it's right there? All right, so now we have a bunch of candles made and we've tested them, and what do you know? If I do it right, boop, they light up. Ta-da! Okay, so that works. And that's enough if you just want a candle here and a candle there, but if you want a big display like I want, you have to figure out some way to wire a bunch up. And so I, for the first time, we'll see if it works, I'm trying to use this copper tape here. Now this is something a lot of kids in schools use to do basic circuitry boards. I'm essentially going to lay out a strip of 3 different power sources, positive and negative, along this nice piece of wood here. And then I'll have a bunch of places to just solder the candles to so that I can do a display that I can move, put on top of a coffin, put on top of a piano, put on top of what have you. So let's lay out our circuit. So I'm starting by doing my 2 power strips, which are going to run along one of the sides, sort of like if we were doing musical scales. This would be the very front of it. A real music person would tell me exactly what the word for that is, but I'm not a real music person, so this is what you get. Lesson number 1, it likes to curl up, so cut your length and then peel it off in a section at a time, otherwise it will curl up on you. So I'm going to get off the paper at the very bottom there, peel that much of it off and start to lay it down. Okay, now my board, extra tape, has racing stripes on it. Ta-da! You see that first line there? Connected to these 2. Now I'm going to run some other ones, but the trouble is you have to be able to jump. I'm just going to take some electrical tape and put it over the area I want to jump. Stick that right here. Okay, So now, as you can see, I have my 3 little lines there. I've jumped the wires where I need to jump the wires. Putting the electrical tape underneath it was a much smarter idea than what I originally did. But now I've got my layout. So I'm going to solder some wires to this so I can get some electricity just so I can test things out as I start to solder things to it. I'm just sort of soldering over all the joints just to make sure that they are nice and secure. Attaching it to power. Okay, these two seem to be attached. I'm gonna plug it in right here. And now let's see if I just touch a candle to it, if it will work. Okay, so in theory, come on, candle. That is positive. That is negative. And you are not lighting up. Oh, you are. Look at that. It's lighting up. It works. Okay. Wow. Checking in on them, and they are all glowing wonderfully. So I'm just going to keep adding on and building up. Here we go. So here is the finished altar. Now there are a couple little places I want to add some more candles in. The funny thing is there is hot glue strung across and it just looks like spider web. So maybe I'll keep it. Maybe it'll be that. I burnt the crap out of myself with hot glue, which is sort of the price of admission. But I am very happy with the product and it is time to plug it in. And yes, oh, this guy is not working. Well, I'm gonna pull that guy up and see what's going on, but let's take a look at it in the dark. Oops, I forgot I have this camera on. Okay, turn you down. Ooh, look at it, it's gorgeous. Oh my gosh, this is great. It's mobile, I can put it where I need to, and it's gonna be great for Halloween. Wait, did you guys hear that?